Welcome to Reptilian Diaries. I'm Frank. We do reptiles here. Today, a closer look on two different knobtails, very similar. Nephrurus, wheeleri, Nephrurus, cinctus. Let's go. Okay, so Nephrurus wheeleri, Nephrurus cinctus. As of about, what was it, last year? Might even have been this year. These were subspecies of each other. It was Nephrurus wheeleri and Nephrurus wheeleri cinctus. Both of these species are native to Western Australia. You've got Nephrurus wheeleri in the south, and you've got Nephrurus cinctus further up in the north, more in the typical Pilbara area. They share a fairly similar habitat. Wheeleri is generally more in the red, loose soil, sandy area, while cinctus can be found more on kind of a harder, more rocky soil. That's kind of what separates these guys. Another thing that separates these, how you can tell them apart just from the eyes without digging into the DNA and all that stuff. Wheeleri has 4 bands, cinctus has 5 bands. They are very similar. You can count the bands, generally. The problem with cinctus nowadays in captivity, trying to tell them apart with the 4 to 5 band rule thing, is people have been breeding these things so they're like patternless now. So cinctus can be tough, but wheeleri always have 4, cinctus are supposed to always have 5, and that's the quickest way to tell them apart. So natural history real quick, these are terrestrial geckos, decent size, insectivores. They're in burrows in the daytime or underneath, rocks or logs or whatever. At night, they'll come out, hunt the insects, soak up a little bit of ground heat that's still left, and then go about their business. Early morning, they're back into their hide. All day long, they're hidden. You will not see them out in the daytime unless you're flipping stuff. And even then, chances are you're not going to find them because they really like to get underneath things that you're not just going to be able to flip on the surface. But you might be able to find them that way. So the way we keep these guys, the way I keep them, fairly simple. Put them in a rack. I think I use a Vision CB22 or something like that. I believe it's about 18 inches wide, 24 inches deep, give or take. Sand substrate. I've got 2 hides. I've got a dry hide in the back, and in the front, I've got a hide that I keep pretty much consistently damp. About twice a week, I'll spray the sides as well, but generally, I'll lift that hide, and if it's not damp under there, I make sure it is. They kind of hang out in there sometimes. They'll hang out in the dry one sometimes. I don't know. There's not really a rhyme or reason to how they do their thing. They just, sometimes they're under one, sometimes they're under the other. Generally, when they're shedding, they will hang out under the one that's wet underneath, just to help with the shedding process. Food items are simple. It can be crickets. It can be a mix of mealworms and waxworms and crickets. It can be different types of roaches, just general insects. These things are not going to touch fruit or vegetables or any of that nonsense. They are strict insectivores. A varied diet is always best. Hit them with calcium at least twice a week. I mean, I dust every time I feed. Calcium with vitamin D3. A quick tip, a lot of people wonder why are we supposed to use D3 or without D3. D3 is for inside, without D3 is for outside. So basically, animals that are inside that are not being hit with UVB all the time, they need vitamin D3 to synthesize calcium. Animals that are outside, they don't need that D3. So you can use calcium that does not have D3. And that's why when you're in the pet shop, you'll see 2 different types. You'll see with and without. So if you're keeping animals inside, always go with D3. Kind of trippy, the males are much smaller than the females. Females are big girls, and the males tend to be pretty small. I keep them separate, and then during the breeding season, I'll bring them together. I'll let them stay together for generally 3 days to a week, and then I'll separate them again. Once you start seeing the little ovals through the bottom of the female's belly when you look underneath, you know you're in good shape. She's developing eggs. Leave them separate. Let her lay her eggs. They can retain sperm, so you can really put the male with her one time during the whole season, and that'll do the trick. But generally, about once a month, I'll put the males in for a couple of days, take them out, and that's kind of how it goes. That's generally how it goes for all of the knobtail geckos. Some of the species have little idiosyncrasies and whatnot, but for the most part, they can all be kept this way. They can all be bred this way. let's check a little bit of footage from Western Australia on our recent trip. We did get to see both of these species. Really cool animals. Check it out. Just walked up on this beauty. Look at this thing. Bring that light down, please. Right down on top. Look at that. Things like piebald. Bring it up a hair. Right there. This is Nephrurus wheeleri. This was one of the main targets of the trip.
I'm shooting a brick.
That's a beauty. I can't see shit. We got our wheeleri cinctus. It's raining. Beautiful little gecko sitting out here in the rain. All right, guys, that's about it. Thank you so much for watching. I think that's going to wrap up 2020 for Reptilian Diaries. It's been a crazy year. I really appreciate all the new subscribers. I really appreciate all the people that have stuck with me. We're going to do it big in 2021 when we can actually start traveling again. Thank you guys so much.